I really appreciate both of you, and specifically the notion of a blunt tool, right? We live in a world that is requiring us to be more and more nuanced. The younger the consumer, the more discerning and demanding they are of brands. They just know their level of savvy, media literacy, they're consuming content, they're producing content. And so if we're just keyword blocking people, creators, content, what does that mean for the younger generation that is going to be looking and seeing, why is this brand missing? Why is this conversation missing? Why is this content being amplified? Why is something else being demonetized? They're going to notice that, and they're going to ask more questions. And the worst thing to happen with the brand is when people start asking questions. So to me, it's all about leaning into the narrative, control the narrative, lean into a little bit of chaos or a little bit of the unknown. Because at the end of the day, if you're too safe, the kids are going to figure that out. Like, your silence isn't silent. They hear it. They hear the silence. They see you missing. You're still being seen. You're still being heard, even if you take the safe approach.
I love that about leaning into chaos, right?
I mean,
at least just
sorry.
a little bit, right?
A little.
We all will have our own tolerances for it, but.
If I can add, I think your story is a great pivot to what I want to talk about. We are data points, and we're actual human beings. There's data that you can do, there's charts and graphs, but the actual human being is not an abstraction. The actual human being sees, hears, feels, mourns, feeds, right? We're living in a world where we're constantly navigating, as the analogy, I will say it, we're navigating farts. We're navigating a world full of farts. And somehow we make it through the day and we get to the next day. And I think there's a balance between the data and the risk mitigation and the real world implications of trust the customer, trust that human being, because we're all human beings. We figure it out, and to a certain degree, the customers are not necessarily looking at brands, gotcha. They're not waking up, I'm gonna get that ad, I'm gonna get that brand today, I don't believe. They're not living in the world of gotcha. They're living in the world of their kids, their grades, their boss, their whatever. So I think it's a balance between respecting people's organic autonomy to navigate the world and farts, their lives, and to a certain degree, the data, which does prove that, negative interactions or negative brands next to, negative content next to a brand may have a dip in some type of intent towards sales, right? I think to put eggs in only one basket and not also respect the fact that people are going to people, as well as the internet is going to internet, I think is a slippery slope in terms of a world that doesn't exist. We don't exist in the synthetic world of everything's happy, look at this brand, buy it, right? So we have to be able to say, if we're too tame, it's lame. We have to lean into reality.
I agree with that, as a former Vice employee.
That was for you.
So.
Netflix and chill, another example where a brand is like, yo, we're so in the culture that people define themselves by our brand to describe what they're about to do. And that's because of a risk, right? These are disruptive brands. So are you a brand that's disrupting and maybe once in a while alienating a segment of the population, but owning the narrative? Are you a brand that wants to sustain itself, kind of neutral, but sustaining? Are you a brand that's making bad decisions, bad choices, not understanding the market, aligning yourselves in ways that are actually going to be canceled? I think every brand has to constantly, every cycle, and every news cycle, honestly, reevaluate who are we? How do we want to live our brand story in society? Because society, Gen Alpha, does not want to be in a full-time job. They do not want to be C-suite. They want to be the entrepreneurs. They want to be the next Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. So they're going to create brands to outbrand your brand because they're so authentic and they know what a fandom is. So again, we need to think about what does it mean to be a brand, right? And how do you then continue to live out your legacy in a way that inspires the next generation to endear themselves to your brand and not for them to create the next competition to your brand.
Those are great points. I mean, I